all-night left coast bias.
Let me welcome everybody to the Wild Wild West.
Left Coast Bias on ESPN Radio all night. I am your host, Jason Smith. Welcome. If you are trying to keep track of what's been going on in Oregon the last few days, well, it's kind of tough because when you wake up and read about an Oregon football player in trouble, you think, wait, is this the same guy as yesterday? No, that's not the same guy, and it's a different guy from the day before, and a different guy from the day before that, and a different guy from the day before that, different guy. After what's gone on over the weekend with Jameer Holland, player on the team, getting kicked off for a Facebook post which was deemed too offensive for him to continue on the team by Chip Kelly, make it 4 Oregon players in the last month arrested, 6 players total kicked off the team. Guys in trouble range from starting quarterback Jeremiah Masoli, accused of theft of stealing laptops, to stud running back LaMichael James, who was arrested on domestic violence charges for choking his girlfriend. Suddenly, LeGarrette Blount, who punched a Boise State player and was reinstated, doesn't seem like the worst guy on the team. What is going on in Oregon? Well, luckily for us, joining us via the Subway Fresh Take Hotline is Steve Tannen from our ESPN Radio affiliate 95.3 The Score in Oregon. Steve, I guess the simplest way to start is with this. What is happening with the Ducks?
Yeah, I feel like I fell into a bad time machine and woke up in Norman in the late 80s. There, and you know, one of the things, Jason, that's most disturbing is when all this news first hit, I was like, people have to understand the national perception is going to be a black eye. The average fan isn't going to take time to let the legalities run their course. I mean, people are going to jump to all kinds of conclusions, and all they see at the bottom of ESPN on the scroll is the big O and who's arrested. So it's almost like it's impossible to undo what you've already seen, and it's all been bad.
Yeah, and some of the stuff I've seen the last couple of days, you talked about LaMichael James. We had Matt Sims and Rob Beard. These guys were both in groups who wound up attacking each other. They were teammates. Quarterback Jeremiah Masoli accused of theft of laptops. I've read from a couple of places that the reinstatement of LeGarrette Blount, who was suspended for the season for throwing the punch at the Boise State player, when he was reinstated, that kind of let everybody off the hook to say, well, if he can do that and get his suspension reduced and actually come back and play, well, what's actually going to happen to me? Do you think that reinstatement of Blount had a negative effect on the team?
I don't think so, because here's the way I looked at it. When it happened after the Boise State disaster, it looked like it was decisive. And it was detrimental from a football point of view because at the time, remember, after one game, no one realized that LaMichael James was a stud running back. Blount was the only returning experience, 1,000-yard rusher. So at that point, we were kind of like, well, Kelly is really focused on the integrity of his program, who's going to run the ball. And then, if you remember, Oregon, after the Boise State game, went on a terrific run. They won 7 straight games. They were in the top 10. And Chip Kelly, a rookie coach, had not only survived this disastrous first game, but thrived. So my question at the time, and I didn't hear anybody else ask this, why would the one guy with the most to lose who had come through this grab the shovel himself and dig up the horse to beat again, unless he really believed it was the right thing?
As far as the last few days have gone now, I think because 6 players have been suspended or kicked off the team, and with the arrest, people are looking for Chip Kelly to say, hey, get control of your team here. You know, obviously the buck is going to stop with him. Is he doing the best he can?
I think he is, and a lot of people see problems. We've had comparisons with the Cincinnati Bengals or the NFL. But I think at the pro level, a coach has a lot more authority and more wiggle room. Guys get cut all the time. I know you have to deal with the players' union, but that guy could resume his career by getting picked up on waivers the next day. When you're dealing with a college player, there are privacy issues. You've got an athletic director, an administration, there are legalities involved. So I think Chip Kelly is trying to get the point across. He can't do exactly what he wants all the time. There are people that even he has to answer to.
Steve Tannen from 95.3 The Score in Oregon is with us, giving us the latest on the Oregon Ducks and that crazy situation going on there. It's All Night with Jason Smith on ESPN Radio and ESPNRadio.com. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. Guests like Steve appear with us via the Subway Fresh Take hotline. The other thing we see now, Steve, that's being bandied about is, hey, here's Oregon, who goes to the Rose Bowl for the first time in 16 years, and now here's a bunch of players who wind up in trouble and on the police blotter in the offseason. So when you take a look at recruiting, Oregon is the latest team to say, well, we'll go recruit guys with questionable character if they're going to perform for us on the field. Is that a fair, or is that inaccurate to say that of the Ducks?
Actually, I think it's kind of accurate in that if you look at the most successful teams recently, starting with Ohio State, Maurice Claret, look at the police blotter that's followed Urban Meyer to Florida. Obviously, now we're dealing with the University of Oregon. Look what's going on at USC, and you start to say to yourself, my goodness, in order to win big at the college level, do you have to kind of straddle that line of character and great player? It's really kind of disturbing.
So what's the future? How do you fix what's going on in Oregon right now?
A rewind button.
Hiring Barry Switzer to come back and coach, because he's dealt with situations like this. Get Jimmy Johnson to come from the U? Yeah.
Well, the problem is if Barry gets on the plane, he might bring his gun with him again, and after 9/11...
then he wouldn't even make it there. You're right.
I guess in moving forward, you really have to put the faith in your head coach that he's going to wait this out. And remember, with these charges against LaMichael James, Chip Kelly's not taking these lightly. You're talking about serious domestic violence charges against a woman. If it comes to light that these are accurate, LaMichael James is never going to be heard from at this university again. And I think Kelly is really trying to work on the fact of he can't keep a grip on 105 players. And I'm starting to wonder if it isn't time for some of the leaders on this team to step up and say, yo, guys, you are not only the ones that suffer from your negative actions. You're doing damage to what we're all trying to accomplish here.
He's Steve Tannen from our ESPN Radio affiliate 95.3 The Score in Oregon. Steve, as always, appreciate your time, and my best to Barry Switzer if you wind up running across him.
And by the way, Jason, after listening to you all these years, there's one thing I always wanted to say to you. Jets, 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 Jets.
Hey, from one team in green to another team in green, we green teams got to stick together, Steve.
You got it, pal.